Match tomorrow is the Broncos up against St George. And David, you mentioned earlier the returning to Cogra. They've had a bit of trouble there with the wet weather, hasn't helped. And matter of fact, most of the top dressing was washed away in that match that they were due to play against the Gold Coast. So it's going to be in a bit of trouble, mainly due to the rain that they've had.
Yeah, well, it's going to be a quagmire, and that tends to bring sides back, particularly when they're playing a side like Brisbane ground that love to move that ball. The wet conditions can obviously bring sides back to the pack, can't it?
Yes, this is right. I think with the Brisbane side, well, they're nearly a state of origin side, and they've had a lot of play. And with the ground the way it's going to be tomorrow, well, I think it will be a lot closer than people think.
All right, we're talking about Cogra. Does that make that much difference to a St George player?
Well, I think it does. When they left Cogra and went to the Sydney Cricket Ground, I think it took a lot of the atmosphere away from the players, and for them to be back there, I'm sure it'll give them an extra few points.
Well, it does give you that home ground advantage too, isn't it?
This is right, yeah.
What about side the St George side, Bill? And I think one man that will be out to prove a point to tomorrow is a young fellow in the second row by the name of Billy Noak, who was cut from the Broncos earlier this year. If you look at the St George lineup, there's quite a Queensland flavour in there.
Clinton Moore, of course, played on the Wingford Brothers in their premiership side a couple of years ago. Mark Coyne, who's finally found a place in that St George lineup. He's a very talented player, comes in the centres. Peter Gill, of course, Wally Fullerton Smith, Shane Kelly. There's plenty of players in there that have had experience in Brisbane, and it shapes up as a good match. Of course, they did beat Balmain last week quite convincingly on the Saturday, and they look to be a pretty handy outfit.
Graham, we've had a couple of your old teammates, Reg Gasnier and John Raper, turned 50 this year, and they must look back on some of those great moments of that St George era where they dominated in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah, so they were the two best players I've ever played with, and they'd be looking back and probably comparing the Broncos with some of those great St George sides, and I think that the Broncos team, the way it's going at the moment, certainly does rate with a lot of those sides.
They've still got a long way to go, though, haven't they? They've met some of that stuff.
It was 11 premierships, Chang, wasn't it? That's a record. It was 11?
Yeah, 11 straight.
How many of those did you play in?
5.
5, yeah.
Must have been something else to play with a team like that.
Yes, well, when I first came up, it was in 1963, and I was on a young bloke from Wollongong, and I think there was about 9 or 10 blokes that played for Australia then.
Nice team to join.
It was very easy.
Well, it's not a bad tribute to you, the fact that St George recruited you in such a halcyon days of the club's history.
Well, I just think that I should thank Brian Graham, because he got a transfer in his job, and then they put me in there. So
did it cost you much to get his transfer?
No, just a playing fare.
All right, while we're talking about St George, what say we have a look now, Fordo, at some of the history, and there's a lot surrounding this great club.
Club Profile, proudly brought to you by Paul's Breaker.
After entering the Sydney Rugby League Premiership back in 1921, it took the St George Dragons some 20 years before they did one of their famous victory laps at the Sydney Cricket Ground. Little did they know they were to do it again another 13 times in the next 25 years, including a record 11 times in succession from 1956 to 1966, a record which probably will never be equal. The Dragons' honour roll shows 45 players have donned the Australian Test jersey down the years, but the incredible part of that statistic is the quality of the players who so proudly sported the Australian colours during the club's record run of the 50s and 60s. No fewer than 6 of the Saint Stars skippered their country either at home or on kangaroo tours, and a handy sextet they were. Players of the calibre of Graham Langlands, Philip Hawthorne, Ken Carney, John Raper, Ian Walsh and the mighty Reg Gasnier. Reg Gasnier is regarded as the Prince of Setters. He still holds the record for the most appearances in Test matches for his country, a record 36. And 3 kangaroo tours as well. His first in 1959-60, where he scored a hat-trick in his first Test match against Great Britain, and his final tour was in 1967-68, where injury finally put paid to him.
They're a great combination, had a good captain, and a bloke like Raper and Gasnier. What would you expect?
It was during the mud heap at the Sydney Cricket Ground in 1963 that the famous Gladiators photo was snapped. Rival skippers Norm Provan and Arthur Summons. The long and the short of the now Winfield Cup. But it seemed fitting that in some way Provan's name was to be immortalised in grand final history. Since 1966, the Dragons have appeared in 5 other Sydney Premiership deciders, winning 2 in 1977 and in 1979. In 1977, they once again created grand final history. They figured in the first ever tie in a grand final, 9-all with Parramatta. But in the replay, the Dragons grabbed their 14th title in a 22-0 win over the Eels. Last year, the Dragons finally added the one trophy which has eluded them down the years, the Panasonic Cup, superbly led through the series by a real veteran in Craig Young. They reigned supreme on a balmy night at the Parramatta Stadium, 3 tries to 1 in a 16-8 victory over the Tigers.
And here it is, the Panasonic Cup.
After 234 first-grade games with the Saints, second only to Norm Provan and Billy Smith, it was a fitting finale for Big Albert, as he is affectionately known. But Young was not to be lost to the Dragons, taking over as coach from Teddy Glossop.
We've got some young players, brought some young players into the club, plus a couple of experienced players, and it's my job to mould them together. We're not looking too far ahead. I can't stand here now and tell you we're going to win the competition. It would be ridiculous. But we'll just take a week-by-week situation.
Very appropriate record there, glory days. There were some big ones there for St George. And the thing too, back in those days, the crowds that a team such as that attracted.
Yes, St George always... the white beds. I think there's a few. I think there's a Pommy bloke wearing white beds now. He might have found mine over there.
Yours the once, I believe.
Only the ones.
Pretty new after that.
Yeah.
All right, Graham, thanks very much for joining us today, and look forward to catching you soon.
Thanks, Bill.
Graham Langler, special guest on the program today. We'll take a break and be back in just a moment.
If you're after a business telephone system, then make the right connection, the Carphone Group. Alternatives to the Commander include the Philips SPX with all the features of a larger system at a very reasonable price. Buy, lease or rent from the Carphone Group. They're great at contact sports.
The Carphone Group. Try us. Look for our ad in the daily newspapers. Brisbane's biggest hardware store.
Isn't it good to know there's a great place to go when you're ready to make your house a home? In true blue Aussie style, enough shots to make you smile. Home-based changing houses into homes. Home-based changing houses into homes.
Home Bay Shopping Centre, now open.
We want a handy ute.
I want to clean my yard.
I'm gonna build a house. We're on the move again. I've got to find a home for Grandma's old piano.
Handy utes from $25 including insurance at a service station near you. Handy proudly uses and recommends Toyota Hilux from Motorama Maruka for quality, reliability and ease of driving. Hop into a Handy ute today.
8:30 Monday night.
Hitler must be finished off.
A plot against Hitler backfires.
Get them all!
America prepares for a battle that will change history.
We may be headed out to the greatest sea fight in the history of the world.
And Natalie and Aaron receive final orders for transport.
No matter what happens, I'm going to survive. Where are we supposed to be going? So long as it's not Auschwitz.
War and Remembrance. The final chapters continue 8:30 Monday on 10.
The name of Arthur Beetson's been in the news as of late, of course, with State of Origin time as the coach, but that's a career that started many, many years ago. To catch up with another Metway memory, once again, Tony Durkin.
Thanks, Bill. Well, that's right. Arthur Beetson is the flavour of the month, particularly in Queensland, after he's come back to rep coaching last week with the Queensland State of Origin side. However, 23 years ago, that wasn't the case. Arthur Beetson was a fresh-faced kid from Redcliffe. He'd gone down to Sydney to try and make a name for himself in rugby league. In the third test at the SCG against Great Britain back in 1966, Beetson made his debut for Australia. His nickname in those days was Half a Game Artie. He certainly lived up to his nickname in that first test match, but what a 40 minutes of rugby league it was.
Sweeping the ball from one side of the field to the other, the Australians are closing on Britain's line. Beating Brooks, Reeves drives over the 25, carrying tacklers with him. The Kangaroos use the open side. Smith to Gleeson, on to Beetson, who crashes through Buckley and dispatches a perfect pass to Irvine, who goes over. It's Irvine's 10th try in Anglo-Australian tests, creating a record he previously shared with Reg Gasnier and Britain's Billy Boston. Australia lead 3-2.
Ken, you were one of the very early recipients of a Beetson pass in his very first test match.
Yeah, that third test in 1966, it became known as Half a Game Artie for that, you know, and what a great player he was then, right through his career, in fact, yeah. Yeah, I'll always remember that particular one because it was the first score of that game and also enabled me to break the try-scoring record between Australia and Great Britain. At that stage, I was on 9 with Brian Carlson and Reg Gasnier, and that one gave me 10. And as I said, gave me the record, so I was indebted to Artie for that one. It was part of Beetson's great play that he had the 2 or 3 defenders to him, including my winger who got caught in between us. And when he summed that up, he was able to get his hands loose and lob the pass over the opposition winger's head to myself.
On the dummy half position, Smith whips a pass to Johns, whose pace and sidestepping is a thorn in the British side. Like Beetson, he's excelling in his initial test against the Lions. Unlike their pattern of play in Brisbane, the Australians open up the game. Smith to Beetson. With Yars out of position, Beetson kicks for left winger Johnny King. Following on, King gathers and goes in for Australia's second try.
In hindsight, Arthur, that was a magnificent test debut, having a hand in the 2 first half tries.
So fine, Tony. No, it's actually I was pleased with the game. I was involved in probably the first 2 tries you said. The second try, a lot of people said that I was out of nick, I was out of breath, and I kicked just to get rid of the ball, but that wasn't the case, being an old centre and 5'8", with all those skills. It was the old kick and follow on.
So it was planned, it wasn't desperation?
There was no desperation, Tony. Might have been a little bit of luck involved, but...
Rate with the rest of what was a marvellous career.
Oh, there's no doubt, you know, the first time you represent your country is something special, and that certainly sticks in my mind.
The
14-stone diamond is rarely taken in the first tackle. A major threat to Britain, his influence on the game provides a parallel to the third test of the 62 series when he lined Eric Ashton and Australia won that one. The Kangaroos are poised for attack, but Lynch's pass to Johns is intercepted by Hardesty and he's away with the line open. Reeves goes after him in a hopeless chase and Hardesty scores under the post. Britain are now within 3 points of their rivals. The Kangaroos burst through Thornett, sending to Wittenberg, who's held by Flanagan, but slips the ball to Johns on the burst. Across to Irvine, who fails to take cleanly but recovers to go in for a try. The British players dispute the referee's ruling of a rebound, claiming a knock-on. Bishop in particular being vigorous in his protests.
I got to know Cole Pearce pretty well, and he was a pretty fair judge, even though we thought at the time that we was being robbed. It's a different interpretation, as all touring side gets when they go on tour. There's different referee interpretation in different countries, and we felt at that time that it was getting a raw deal, but as it turned out, it was, even though I still think the try was not a try, probably got about 3 hours in the Sindon for the chat I had with him.
An array of talent in that test match. Beatson, of course, and great to see Tommy Bishop again, who's now living down the Gold Coast. He's followed people like Graham Langlands to live down there, and it's great to see Tommy back in Queensland. And a touch of Gene Miles in the overhead pass from Arthur Beatson to Ken Irvine for that first try.
Certainly was. So he started something there even so many years ago. And Tommy, of course, was still a little bit fiery then. Didn't have much to say about the try at all, did he really?
No, I think he slightly disagreed with that try, but what a great little footballer he was, and quite surprising. That was the start of Tommy Bishop's career in that test match as well as Arthur Beatson. So two great players actually kicking off their careers in the one test match.
All right, thanks, Tony. That's Tony Durkin there with our Metmate memory for today. Right now, though, it's time to check out the Australian Airlines Try of the Week.
Welcome to Australian Airlines Try of the Week competition. This week's try is from the Penrith-Canterbury game.
Down they go towards the quarter. He slips. Back to his feet now. Alexander playing with this Canterbury side. He taunts them as he darts across field. Back it comes for Bradley. McIndoe sides the gap. He flicks it anywhere. Out the back it comes for Goya. He throws it over his head. What a try!
You now have the chance to win the monthly prize of a top-quality made-to-measure suit from George Simons by selecting the month's best try. Here are the tries.
There's the big push. Oh, one against the feed. Tremendous play by the Brisbane Six. Here's the pass for John. This will be another try. Well, yes, it will. John's in for his second try.
Lewis. Madison. Ricks got the pass to Madison. This ball's still alive. Beautifully picked up by Dowling. Here's Lewis. Lewis through the dummy, and Lewis goes away and scores his first try for the Broncos in '89.
Back to the first senior club for Ellery Hanley before he went on that record transfer fee to Wigan in 1986. Here's the big break by Hanley. Numbers on the outside. Got the pass away, and Chance Stafford. It goes to Mackay, and as he did against Balmain a couple of weeks ago.
Great chance for Bentley. Down they go towards the quarter. He slips. Back to his feet now. Alexander playing with this Canterbury side. He taunts them as he darts across field. Back it comes for Bradley. McIndoe sides the gap. He flicks it anywhere. Out the back it comes for Goya. He throws it over his head. What a try!
Send your entries to Australian Airlines Try of the Match competition. Brisbane 10, GPO Box 666, Brisbane 4001. On the back of the envelope, write your name and address and what you consider is the winning try. That is A, B, C, or D. The winning entry will be drawn on next week's Ball and All. Try of the Match is proudly brought to you by Australian Airlines.
Well, the A try or whatever try come up as the best one, I don't think there'll be too much doubt about that one. When you start throwing the ball around like that, it's really treating the opposition with contempt. There's a break coming up and more of the action other side of that.
Win a trip for two to London to be in the audience of a Royal Variety Concert simply by watching Channel 10's exclusive coverage of the Queensland Day Gala Variety Concert. Get your coupon from the Sunday Mail and send your entry to the Queensland Day competition at this address.
Yeah, I'm releasing now. Estimate wind. We've made contact, moving to the next location. I'm 200 k's past the last survey area. We've got a surplus here. Gets it up. All units in position.
If we can arrange construction.
Well, the situation could change.
Your page of messages as follows. And because of the patient's history,
We stand by.
Across Australia, its sounds, its signals link us together. The Telecom Network. It's your voice. Brisbane's biggest hardware store.
Old-style stretch bandages with clips don't hold. Athletic tapes pull your hair out. Now there's new Molympic tape bandage. Adheres to itself, not to you. No clips, no hair pulls, no shaving, no nicks. Molympic self-grip. Tears easily and evenly by hand. Use only what you need. Gives dynamic compression and support. The only self-grip bandage you can swim in. It's reusable and comes in 8 different sports fashion colours. New Molympic self-grip. Go for it.
Page 1, a special report on the politics of our environment.
There are distinct limits, constitutionally, to the way in which the federal government can get into this area.
One crisis after another, and still our politicians dither.
They have substantial controls over the environment that they're not vigorously exercising.
Who is going to take responsibility for the mess?
And if governments ignore it, they'll fall.
The world suffers while our leaders play politics. Page 1, presented by Toyota Camry. Monday, 7:30 on 10.
Weekly Roundup, brought to you by the Carphone Group.
Well, one match we already touched on slightly, and that was the one between St George and Balmain. St George running out winners here by 24 points to 14. And this is probably one, David, they really needed at this stage of things.
You're right, Bill. They had to win it. Had they not got the points in this particular game, they really would have been well and truly out of contention. And by winning the game by 24 points to 14, they really made sure this weekend's game against the Brisbane Broncos is a game that they'll now look to keep up.
David, they scored 2 tries in 11 minutes, which virtually was the ball game, wasn't it?
Well, that's right. Balmain were a little bit disappointing, really. They seem to have gone right off the ball. When you look at it, grand finalists from last year, Balmain, as were Canterbury Bankstown. Both those sides got beaten on the weekend, so we're seeing a changing scene in 89. Ricky Walford, they're going across in the corner, have to be in contention for one of the wing spots for New South Wales State of Origin, which will be selected on Sunday evening.
Yeah, tremendous win, and this is the danger we spoke about, underestimating this side tomorrow, the Broncos, because they have got the ability to control the football in wet weather conditions.
This young fellow made every post a winner. I think he scored in each game that he's played for St George. Mark Coyne got the ball right on the receiving end, tried to then get up again. He didn't actually ground it there. He tried to improve the position. The referee decided it was a try as he fell to the ground. But St George are in pretty good form, and that is Cogra Oval, unfortunately, and it has been raining in Sydney late this week. And it's to be hoped that things fine up a little bit before the Broncos hit there on Sunday.
And that is also, and Andy Courier, the Widnes and Great Britain centre who really made a great impact. The Great Britain players, Billy, have certainly excelled themselves in the early part of their stint here in the Sydney Premiership this year.
Yeah, they've certainly added quite a bit of sparkle to things, and a lot of renewed interest for a couple of the clubs, including both Wests and Easts.
One thing about this St George side, it's only a young side, and Craig Young took a little bit of time to get them going, and it does seem that they've got a lot of confidence in their own ability now, and they're playing quite a reasonable brand. This was a fairly soft try here by big Steve Edmed, but it was late in the game. St George basically had the game won at that stage.
Well, the strengths there, Bill, were in the pack of forwards, and they came up there with 5 great tries.
Yep, and the scoreline finally of 24 points to 14. Well, we saw a taste of some of the action out there in the match between Penrith and Canterbury. Big win for Penrith here by 38 points to 4. Here's some of those highlights.
So this scrum will go down 32 metres out. It's a Penrith feed. Alexander's worked it. It's coming out Penrith's way. Mortimer's got it now. Now this is Bradley. He's gone straight through. He's over the corner line. Bradley. He's going to score on his own.
In the last now 40 metres out from their own line. Back for Alexander to kick. He's under a bit of pressure. He's going to do well to get out of there. They're going to run the football now through Mortimer. Now Bentley. He's got support. Out it comes. Andrew Simons down the wing. Great try. Sensational stuff by the Panthers.
Have a look at Alexander. Deliberately take on a couple of them, then offload. Now Mortimer decides he's going to go here because he senses there's a try on right at the outset. He gets a pass away there beautifully. The defence has run ragged at this stage. Then it's out to Simmons, the former North Sydney wing three-quarter, gives the ball back inside to Alexander. He puts his head down and his knees up, and he's got a big smile on his face. Caught and held by Nissen. Last tackle signal against the Panthers. Here's Gerard with it. Now it's Alexander. Out for Mortimer. Numbers out there as Bentley's given it away to McIndoe. Put the glasses down. McIndoe's in to score. And from head on, this is the way it looks. Simmons started the whole thing going with a long pass to Jethro Gerard. He tossed it away out there to Alexander. Alexander, look at the length of these passes. Some of them are longer than a cricket pitch. Out there beautifully. It was out to Bentley. Bentley on there to McIndoe. And McIndoe in for a try. Yes, indeed. They are playing switcho football today.
The defensive line by Canterbury at the moment, Graham, is only it's a shadow of its former self. They're being out-enthused in the middle by Penrith. Things like this here. Jeff Gerard making a break and giving it to Geyer.
Away goes Alexander. They won't catch him. To the corner. Try number 2. He got there. But they're on another roll. They've turned Canterbury around once more. Behind Gerard, the pass was thrown. Knocked back, says Stone. Simmons, long pass out. Bradley into the clear. He's got support in McIndoe. Should be a try. Out to McIndoe. He's got support on the inside. He won't need it. And plenty of confidence in this Penrith side. Geyer. Right comes for Bentley. Down they go towards the quarter. He slips. Back to his feet now. Alexander. Playing with this Canterbury side. He taunts them as he darts across field. Back it comes for Bradley. McIndoe sights the gap. He flicks it anywhere. Out the back it comes for Geyer. He throws it over his head. What a try! Alston for Langmack. Long pass for Farah. Smothered by Izzard. Now Nissen's lost it. It's got to be a try. Chris Mortimer. Out it goes for Simons. There's another one on the board. But can they keep the momentum going? Still working blindside as Langmack puts a little kick through. And this must be a Canterbury try, is it?
Full-time score there, 38 points to 6, and pretty disappointing Canterbury side.
Well, the axe has been wielded, Billy. 5 changes for this weekend, and the changes had to come, David. They're playing without heart, aren't they?
Yeah, they really are. Phil Gould put an interesting article in the paper during the week where he likened his side to racehorses, and they tend to find the easy way to do things after they won a few games, and he really got into them, and Peter Tunks was one of the casualties. He's on the bench this week.
The Canberra Raiders came up against Newcastle, and the Knights did the job on them.
Yes, the Knights have got an undefeated record at home, Bill, and they must now be seriously considered as a top 5 contender. They really have done it well in 89.
Certainly have. Any side that can keep Canberra to only 1 try has got to have a terrific defence. Look at the support they've got there. It certainly lifts them. Newcastle, a very tough side to beat at home. It'll be interesting to see just how they fare in more of the games away from home, but they're starting to put it together. Canberra scored a try. There it is there, Johnny Ferguson on the spot, but an indication from that really Newcastle's defence was outstanding.
Well, I suppose you will get some people say that they've got to start winning these matches away from home, and I think that's fair enough too.
Well, yeah, but I guess that the confidence will be building as well now. I mean, if you keep winning games against sides such as Canberra, they have been on a real roll. They've scored on an average of about 35 points a game, Canberra, and yet against a side like Newcastle, they show they can do the job. 2 field goals in this match too by Gary Worth to extend the lead to 10 points to 6. So Newcastle were keen to take whatever points were on offer.
Well, they're talking about State of Origin sides being chosen tomorrow night. New South Wales could do worse than looking at 2 players in this Newcastle side. Gary Worth at fullback and Mark Sargent, one of the form forwards of the Sydney Premiership.
Well, that's right. Gary Jack's been out of form, and they really do need a big man up front, and Sargent to do the job for them.
Let's have a look now at Souths and Manly. Just about the last chance for Manly, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, they kissed the year goodbye, really. They've been floundering for most of the season. South Sydney, it was reported, put in some sparkling attack. Well, we certainly didn't see any sparkling attack from South Sydney last Wednesday night in the Panasonic Cup match. But I guess it's comparable with the defence you come up against, and Manly just aren't tackling.
Well, 2 young fellows, again, were outstanding in this match, playing only their second match. Lyons, the prop forward, and young Sidaris, the young hooker, only 17 years of age. But this South Sydney side, well, maybe people saying the bubble may have been burst the other night, but I'm not too sure about that. They've still got some outstanding players to come back, players like Roberts and Boyle, and they will really toughen that South Sydney pack up come the business end of the season.
They will. Les Davidson, you can throw into that as well. I was talking to Dr. Nathan Gibbs, the South doctor, and he mentioned that it won't be that long before Davidson will be back after a knee injury that he incurred early in the season. He tried to make a comeback about a month ago and hurt it again, and I was under the impression he might have been out for the season, but they're still very hopeful that Les Davidson can come back in. He had those 3 guys into a pack.
Makes a big difference, doesn't it?
And they just love to play it in there big, tough and hard, and they'll certainly make a difference.
But as Billy mentioned, it's been just such a disappointing year for Manly Warringah. It's hard to believe that just 2 years ago they were the reigning premiers. And again, a side playing with just no commitment or heart at the moment.
Nothing at all.
They're damaged.
Problems off the field, of course, too. Alan Thompson is being questioned about whether he'll be right for next season. He's saying he's available. Manly are being a little bit non-committal, but the rumours abound that Graham Lowe will be coaching Manly next year. And, of course, that must have a major unsettling effect on the team.
I think if anyone had said to you at the start of the season, Manly would only have 4 points coming into round number 11, you would have had an argument on your hands, wouldn't you?
That's right. You'd think they were crazy. But Manly, I don't know, they haven't bought that well. I guess you've got to look comparatively at sides like Manly and Canterbury Bankstown. Canterbury have let so many players go. Now, it's all very well to be on top, but you've got to make sure you keep improving. Manly haven't done that, and the other sides have.
So South winning that match by 36 points to 10. We'll take a break and be back shortly.
That's it. Australia wins the double, 6-4, 6-4.
Years ago in Australia, tough competition was mostly found here in the sporting arena. But today, competition is everywhere, especially in banking. Recently, a very competitive bank introduced an idea for many people to save thousands of dollars tax-free by investing in their own mortgage. The bank is Citibank, and the account is called Mortgage Power. A Mortgage Power account starts with this free checkbook. It then gives you a line of credit of up to 80% of the value of your property. Your first cheque pays out your current mortgage, leaving you the balance for whatever purpose you choose. A home extension, business purposes and the like. And if it is for business, the interest is normally tax deductible. If you call now, Citibank will mail you this brochure on Mortgage Power. The beauty of Mortgage Power is its flexibility. First, it's portable from one secured property to the next. Second, you can withdraw or make deposits like a cheque account. And third, if you cash in other income-producing assets and deposit the money in your Mortgage Power account, it can give you the effect of an investment paying around 18% tax-free. Call Citibank now. Operators are standing by to take your call and mail you this brochure. It shows how many people can save thousands of tax-free dollars by investing in their own mortgage. Phone Citibank now.
What's the matter, mate?
That cable's broke.
Leave it to me. And they thought they'd be stuck there all day.
Nissan Patrol with Nissan's exclusive 2-year warranty.
The best four-wheel drive down under. Unbelievable.
That's Nissan know-how.
This is Madge. She's been proposed to 200 times.
I've got cold feet.
So we gave Madge the Cambrook foot warmer. Do you like it, Madge?
I do.
The foot warmer for cold feet. It took Cambrook to think of it.
When you went to buy a homestead back in 1883, people were saying, Rain and Horn looked after me. 100 years later,
more people are saying, Rain and Horn looked after me.
7:30 Tuesday. Don't be lost for words.
Doesn't matter.
Join the madness of Australia's favourite comedy company.
Excuse me, could you keep it down a bit, please?
I couldn't keep eating, Dan, looking at you.
There's a trip to the zoo and a visit to the dentist.
Two fillings. And I was spitting green water.
Back at the regular time of Tuesday, 7:30.
Making a special sandwich for my mummy.
The Comedy Company, 7:30 Tuesday on 10.
Seem to say it every week, but a lot of things have been happening in the world of rugby league. Let's check them out now with Terry Kennedy.
Thanks, Billy. Unfortunately, the news in rugby league has been tarnished this week with the spiteful incidents from the Broncos-Gold Coast games grabbing the headlines. Our own Wally Lewis was fined $2,000 over a spitting incident with Gold Coast forward Jim Cowell, who copped a $1,000 fine. The local derby produced a dour affair, which seemed to bring out the worst in both teams. The Broncos may have got the 2 premiership points against the Giants, but there was a wave of bad publicity after the game. The major blow came 3 days after the match when Lewis and Cowell were cited over the spitting incident. New South Wales Rugby League General Manager John Quayle was not impressed.
It's an unsavoury incident that's more that the image of the game is tarnished rather than foul play. So the board have always the right to act in anything that's against the interest of the game, and in this case they believe this is.
League Chairman Ken Arthurson, one of Wally's biggest fans, was shocked by the whole affair.
I don't think it's the sort of behaviour we can expect from anybody. I suppose it's particularly worse in the case of the Australian captain. It's conduct that, in my view, is foreign to the normal conduct that we expect from Lewis.
Both clubs threatened to cite players over separate incidents, but both decided against that action on Monday.
If there is something that is not in the best interest for the player, I think we've got to take the appropriate action. But I think in this case, we're relieved that no further action will be taken.
John Rebo. In other news, veteran North Sydney fullback John Doherty is set to take over as coach of English club Halifax next year. Of course, Halifax is the club that former Brisbane Brothers coach Ross Strudwick was sacked from this year. Doherty was recommended by former Canterbury and Test winger Chris Anderson. Down Parramatta way, the Eels' most publicised reserve grader, Jeff Fennick, has made his long-awaited debut for the club. Since retiring from the ring, Fennick has made no secret of his ambitions to play first-grade rugby league. He came on for the last 10 minutes of reserve grade against Cronulla and made a big impression, pulling off 3 tackles in a row. After the game, Fennick said he was happy with the way he played. New South Wales Origin selectors sit down on Sunday night to try and come up with a solution to their troubles. Wholesale changes were called for, so it will be interesting to see just how many new players are in the squad. One of the big tips is the inclusion of South Sydney combination Phil Blake and Craig Coleman. Wednesday night's Panasonic Cup semi-final was a great chance for the South Sydney pair of Blake and Coleman to show their wares against the Queensland combination of Lewis and Langer. And the Rabbitohs pair were out to impress.
Well, we're very fortunate that we've got a shot at them before the selection comes up on Sunday. So if Craig and I can, play well as a combination tonight, it might go a long way for us getting selected on Sunday night.
I'm looking forward to the challenge very much. We had a good win on Sunday, so we're going in this game pretty confident. And as I said, Blake, you said before, they've got the chance to show our wares tonight, and hopefully we might get a blue jump out of it.
Blake and Coleman went home with their tails between their legs, while the Broncos arrived home triumphant. Man of the match, Peter Jackson, was just glad to be back in top form.
One good game doesn't make a summer, mate. If blokes like Chris Johns, the way he's been playing throughout the season, hopefully it'll, I don't even know what the side will be for the weekend. Maybe I mightn't even be in I might be on the bench, but whatever happens, I'm prepared to cop it sweet. And, I've just got my own confidence back now, which I really needed.
At the moment, there's a lot of talk about the Broncos winning the big double, the Panasonic Cup and the Winfield Cup. But John Rebo is just hoping to beat St George tomorrow.
Well, that'll be lovely, but we've got a lot of football yet, so, you know, we've got a real busy time the next 6 weeks with the representative commitments, and hopefully we can keep winning there and keep the momentum going. Things are looking good for the finals.
And just finally, on Thursday night, Steve Maven went before the judiciary and was cleared of the incident with Joe Kilroy in the Panasonic Cup. Now it's back to the leading member of the Green Machine, Billy J. Smith.
Thanks very much. As long as we don't... Although Fordo's getting close to shaving his head anyway. It's that night to meet, Miss Jane.
Very good, William. Yeah, I knew it'd have to come up.
All right, let's get back to Wednesday night. Talking about the Broncos, obviously they are will-start favourites in the Panasonic Cup final on Wednesday night. And on the demolition job they did on South Sydney, quite entitled to.
Yeah, undoubtedly they've started to really run into top form, and it was just great to see Peter Jackson, a class player who really had a great year last year. He's been struggling with injury since he's come to the Broncos, but I said earlier in the telecast, Bill, that I sensed that he was playing with confidence, and this try, his first of two, just helped him on the way, I think.
It sort of stunned the crowd too. They'd made quite a noise when South Sydney came onto the field, but they didn't have much to cheer about after that try. Very quiet.
And then Tony Curry came up with another try after both Jackson and Curry combined here. And notice that Chris Johns out there hovering on the wing. Just a few weeks ago, before injury struck Chris Johns, it was Curry and Johns who were so dominant in the centres for Brisbane. It just goes to show the depth that they've got. Now here's an interesting one. Wally Lewis, just before the break, had an attempted drop goal. The ball went to Cruikshank. Watch the tackle here. Coming across, heavy knock. But it's LeMan who puts his foot on the touchline. That try should never have been awarded. It was a very difficult decision for referee Mick Stone and the touch judge, but it was such a crucial try, Bill, going into half-time.
Yeah, well, that really did seal the whole match there for the Broncos. Although South Sydney, momentarily in the second half, came back with one try that looked as though it could have started something for them, but the Broncos kept it going.
Yes, well, you can never take your eye off this man, Phil Blake. This is a fundamental error by Chris Johns. Something that coaches would frown on, trying to speculate with the kick there, but it was when diving on the ball was the right option. I believe that Wayne Bennett at three-quarter time didn't miss Chris Johns, had a few words to say, but it could have been a turning point because a player like Blake can just swing the game in the twinkling of an eye, but it was the composure after that of this Brisbane side that got them home, and that's one of the... We heard so often this year, Bill, the word discipline used, and that's a thing that really, though, has been the highlight of this Brisbane side.
Yeah, they've been able to handle the pressure. That's the thing. I noticed Wayne Bennett said when a situation arises, they've got the ability to overcome just about anything at this stage.
Well, David Wright said during the telecast the other night, one of the highlights looming on Wednesday night in the Panasonic Cup final is the clash between probably the two of the finest halfbacks in the world and the little terror from Great Britain, Andy Gregory, up against Alan Langer. I'm looking forward to that. But really, realistically, you would just have to say, yes, you've got to favour a Brisbane victory on Wednesday night. Lewis's captaincy the other night was another highlight. Big Gene Miles running out wide. What a fearsome sight that is. And this young fellow, Renouf, every time he comes onto the field, he does the job for Wayne Bennett. Just watching Gene Miles here, he's really in top-class form. I think we've said plenty about him as of late, and all of it deserved too, because he's been in outstanding form and really relishing the task with the Broncos. So a win there for the Broncos by 24 points to 4 over South Sydney. They're into the final, and that match, of course, coming away next Wednesday night here on 10. We'll take a break and be back.
Recently, a very competitive bank introduced an idea for many people to save thousands of dollars tax-free by investing in their own mortgage. The bank is Citibank, and the account is called Mortgage Power. Like to know more about Mortgage Power? Call this number now. Operators are standing by to mail you this brochure. Mortgage Power gives you a line of credit of up to 80% of the value of your property for whatever purpose you choose. Call Citibank now.
Old-style stretch bandages with clips don't hold. Athletic tapes pull your hair out. Now there's new Molympic tape bandage. Adheres to itself, not to you. No clips, no hair pulls, no shaving, no nicks. Molympic self-grip. Tears easily and evenly by hand. Use only what you need. Gives dynamic compression and support. The only self-grip bandage you can swim in. It's reusable and comes in 8 different sports fashion colours. New Molympic self-grip. Go for it.
I get mad when I catch cold. I get mad when glue won't hold. I get mad when my daughter's date brings her home very, very late. I get mad when I rip my pants. I get mad because I can't dance. I get mad when I lose a bet. Yes, I get upset. But I never get mad at my car. No, I don't. I never get mad at my Mad Max car.
Yes, you too can have a truly reliable used car. See Mad Max used cars today at Kedron and now open at Capalaba. Mad if you don't.
Take a long cool breaker, a smooth aggression breaker. A breaker makes your break. Take a breaker. When you've got a match like this to shake. A breaker makes your break.
An invitation from the Premier of Queensland.
Join Brisbane 10 in celebrating a spectacular night of variety and entertainment. The Queensland Day Gala Variety Concert, Tuesday, 8:30.
Dame Edna, The Seekers, Simon Gallagher, Debbie Byrne, Celeste Patterson, the Queensland Ballet Company, James Morrison, Jerry Connolly, Renee Gayer, Marcia Hines, Cameron Daddo, and many more. The stars assemble for the Queensland Day Gala Variety Concert, Tuesday, 8:30, exclusive to 10.
Let's have a look at the points table in the Winfield Cup as it stands now as we come into round number 11. And there's the two joint leaders up there, the Brisbane Broncos and Souths, both on 18 points. And as we were saying for the Broncos, they've got that 4-point buffer against the next two teams. And over the following few weeks, that could come in handy.
Very important, Bill, because the workload is enormous with State of Origin, Test matches and all general run-of-the-mill. There's going to be injuries come into the Broncos camp, and that really is a very handy buffer. But as you said just a few moments ago, who would have thought Manly Warringah down there on 4 points? It's just hard to believe.
So there we go through to St George on the 10, and that'll be certainly the lock-off point after that. The rest can forget about what's been happening for the remainder of the year. Righto, we've got quite a bit of action coming up here on Brisbane 10 in the next week or so. Match of the day tomorrow, that's your replay at 6:30 from Cogra Oval, and we'll have the Broncos in action against St George. And then tomorrow night, it's Penrith and Canberra from Penrith Park. That'll be coming up after the movie tomorrow night. And then, of course, the big one we've been looking forward to for a while, the Broncos into the final of the Panasonic Cup. They'll be playing Illawarra, that match at Parramatta Stadium. It will be coming to you live at 8:30. And this Illawarra side, David, have started to show their wares. And, of course, both Hampson and also Gregory have made quite a difference, haven't they?
Yeah, I think the turning point was that second half Illawarra v Broncos just a few weeks ago when they actually won the second half, lost the match. They then turned around and won their first Winfield Cup match. They're not going to be underestimated because I think it's a big moment for their club history as well. After 6 or 7 years, they're finally into their first final, as are the Broncos.
And they'll bring a bit of support up from Wollongong there on Wednesday night, I'd imagine.
And I believe a bit's going south from Brisbane as well.
Oh, well, that's good. All right, so that's the match for next Wednesday night. Till we're back with you tomorrow at 6:30. We'll say a very good morning once again from Ball and All. We'll see you then for the Broncos coming up against St George. Should be a beauty from Cogra Oval. Viewing time is tomorrow night at 6:30.
There's more clouding around than usual when Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis are let loose under the big top. Join the kings of comedy in Three Ring Circus. That's next on Brisbane 10.